Let us explore the Bible together on Glorious Morning Study Hour on AWR SID Media, from broadcast to baptism.
So we're talking about the power of kindness and compassionate this week, and today we want to focus on leadership. To say, does leadership have room for compassion? When you talk true leadership, isn't it about power, or can compassion actually find room in there? And leading with compassion apparently creates some form of trust, of fostering collaboration and inspiring others actually to follow. We're going to be finding out if this actually has merit as Elder Moyo takes us through this conversation. My brother, good morning to you. Ooh, it looks like we haven't connected yet with the Elder. I'm not too sure why there, because we had confirmed and he was saying he's ready. Not too sure why we haven't connected with him. And we are looking to have this conversation looking at this idea of trust in and compassion rather in leadership. To say, does it have room, and what kind of room does it look like when you say you're going to be having trust and compassion and kindness as a leader? I mean, won't people then kind of remove fear or remove reverence, doesn't it water down your authority, so to speak? Don't you become a walkover for your subordinates? That's the discussion we're going to be having as the Elder talks to us. Brother Moyo, good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you doing, Derek?
No, not doing okay. Thank you. On your side?
I'm okay. I'm doing all right.
Dada, we're talking compassion today as leaders. Does it have room there? Compassionate leadership? Does it make for effective leaders?
It almost sounds like an oxymoron, if you ask me. It's like saying, it does, to say that, compassionate leadership, to have a kind or compassionate leader, it almost sounds like you should have like things that shouldn't be said together, actually. But when you actually look at it, and when you look at the true principle of leadership, you can't have leadership without compassion, actually.
Yeah, that's profound. That's profound. I was not expecting that, right? I was not expecting that. Why would you think that compassionate leaders actually are more effective, are more trusted, are more admired, apparently?
So this is the interesting thing about compassionate leaders, is that when we're talking about being compassionate, the fact that they are moved to be more considerate of others and actually be considerate of even of their subordinates, and actually are moved to do things for their subordinates. What you find, and what I have found to be true, is that one of the disadvantages of it, and I know that we're talking about the advantages, but one of the reasons why we don't talk about it as much is because it takes time and it takes being able to care. And both of those things are things that are taxing. Because when you find out that someone is compassionate, especially a leader, when they're compassionate towards those who work for and who work with them, you realize the people who work with them will do more will go the extra mile for them, even further than what you would expect, because they know that their superior, or the one who is their leader, will move heaven and earth for them. So they themselves will go like, okay, you know what, this is someone who I can do more for. And even before you've asked for things, you'll find out that they will do it because they know you and they know that you care.
Okay. And like you were saying, right, it sounds quite like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
This kind of leadership actually has results, but like you're saying, tried and tested, it is actually what is more effective and it goes longer in the long run. When you talk leaders who have compassion, how do they balance the need for authority and also this need to exercise this kindness, this compassion in their leadership style? How can you balance that without, kind of losing what leadership is all about?
So this is what makes it tough to be a compassionate leader, if you can be so, is the idea that are you sure, like I think as you were in the introduction, I like how you said it, to say, are you sure that people are not going to end up walking all over you? Now remember, compassion and
Yeah.
being kind doesn't mean that you ignore all the wrongs that happen, because there are mistakes that are made, and sometimes that compassion is shown in how you handle those things that go wrong, or when um, things are not done the way they're supposed to. But one of the best examples that we should probably look towards is, how did Jesus balance this idea of being compassionate and yet still being one of the best leaders, if not the best leader, this world and this world has seen. You find out that this balance was struck by, first of all, yes, making sure that we don't look at people as tools to be used, that they too are people who need care, but at the same time, that when they make mistakes and when things are done wrong, they can be corrected, uh, but without having to just be harsh about how you correct people. Um, but then when someone knows better and you know that they should know better, then how you address them will also change and will become, how can I say, will let me give you the example of Jesus in the temple. And lots of us like to bring up that example when it comes to, no, but you have to show authority. When Jesus took together the whip of cords, and came through into the temple and chased them out, and showed that aggressiveness. And what was that word that we used during the week? Was it assertive? And in that case, he actually said, you know what? Do not make this place. This is supposed to be my Father's house, a house of prayer, and you have made it a den of thieves. You realize that was after a very long time of giving stories and of giving testimony of exactly what they're supposed to do, and saying that, no, but you know better. But for those who were still learning, he still had that and even for those that he chased out of the temple, what we don't usually speak about is how after they were chased out, he still he still allowed them back into the temple. He didn't say get out and never return. They came back to the temple, and he didn't chase them out then. But you realize that also the other balance is, please make sure that those who have decided to follow along with you and decided to work with you you should show that positive reinforcement to say that, yes, this is the right way, let's walk together. Don't just push people out towards and give orders, but do the work with the people. And you'll find that they build respect. But again, that kind of leadership requires time. It requires patience, and this is something that I won't even lie, that I lack. And when it comes to trying to, and I was once asked the question, would you rather be respected or feared? And I found myself wondering, you know what, respect takes time, but fear, it doesn't take very long for people to fear you. The only problem that comes with that, though, is that when people fear you, and as soon as you've turned your back away, they will only do the bare minimum to make sure that you're happy. But also, as soon as you have turned around and you are not around, they may actually turn on you. So fear is not where you want to base your leadership on. It may be easier, but it is not the way you want to go about it.
Yeah, indeed, it is not. It is not. I know it is. And then maybe let's couple that, Mdala, with the idea of, and I don't know if you've heard of this one, of leading with heart, right? Leading with heart. I don't know what does that actually mean, and how important is it to success in terms of leadership?
So leading with heart, this is actually basically leading with, well, it comes in two phases really. Leading with heart, saying that I think the best way to put it the first way to put it is the second way would be by a Bible verse, but the first one would basically be this: um, lead with the idea that you care for people. Lead with care, if I may put it that way. I like the way that it has been quoted to be able to say that Jesus, when he went among the people, he showed that he had an interest in them as a people, not just as a mission, but as a people. That he showed that he cared. After showing that he cared, after hearing what their interests were, then he provided for that care. And then after that, the people then in response would say, but you know what, this man, he's more than just words. He's more than just saying, he walks the walk. And then from there, when he said, okay, now follow me, that's when people followed, because they saw that he cared. So that's the idea of leading with heart, but also the other side of it is also this, and I'm sure that this is a verse you may be familiar with, but it says, don't work as if you're working for men, but work as you are working for the Lord. So if you were thinking that, oh, okay, no, let me just work as working for men, you'll fall short. But if you're working as you work for God, you find that as a leader yourself, even, you are serving the people. You are, something, Derek, I don't know if this has ever come to mind, but you know that a lot of our leaders, they're actually called ministers. But you know that the word minister means servant. So this is the idea that comes forward, that and I'm not just talking about in the church either. We say the ministry of something, and who's the person who leads that is a minister. Was inherently, as people, we know that leaders are supposed to be the servants of all. And yet I'm not really sure whether we actually understand how to do it. But one thing I know for sure is that God is the one who, if you look at how Jesus led, he led from example and also led by serving others. None of his miracles were for himself. None of his authority was exercised just for himself. And that's exactly what it means to lead with a heart, not only with heart, but also with a heart, as in with compassion, with the idea that this is not just for me, this is about serving.
Yeah.
But maybe I should ask Derek, when you hear that term, to say lead with heart, what do you understand by that?
Well, it almost serves as a contra, Ndala, about the difference between what's happening in the mind and what's happening in the mind. I mean, in the heart, rather. You know how sometimes they say the mind said, but the heart said, as though they're going in opposite directions, and it almost gives this impression of then picking the heart, which is the emotion, over the intellect, or what reason is suggesting. Which sometimes can prove dangerous, but I love how you've presented it to say, no, it's saying whatever you're going to be doing, be a bit more thoughtful in the approach. And I think that's quite profound. And it's not just because I think that's why people will kind of turn it down, because it presents this idea of just being an emotional person more than what's needed. If you're a leader, you're supposed to provide reason, you're supposed to provide strategy, vision, and so forth, which are things that happen in the head and have not been accustomed so much to be happening in the heart. So I like how you've presented this idea of it's what underlines to say, yes, in as much as you might be providing vision, but it's about the people, because sometimes I think as leaders, you might end up focusing on the thing itself that you're doing for people, and forget that, no, it's about the people. That's why you're doing the thing that you're busy with.
Thank you very much. I like the way you put that. We usually think it's about the thing and not the people, but we forget that we're doing the thing for the people.
Exactly. And maybe let's wrap up with this idea, Ndala. And I think you set up such a beautiful base for it, to say this idea of leading with heart, of being compassionate as leaders. Does it catch on? Can it be inspiring to have other leaders, maybe subordinates who are going to be leaders, or subordinates who are leaders of their own departments or regions, maybe other counterparts, or even our seniors being also leaders who are compassionate? Does it have that capacity of saying, while they look at you as a compassionate leader, they might think, okay, maybe let me try this thing as well?
So this comes back to something we discussed earlier in the week, and actually now I can hand in my assignment. You said to look through the broken window theory, the idea that if you look around you and you see signs of disorder or like broken windows in an environment, it may make you think, oh, then it should be okay to carry on with different crimes. But then you realize that this actually does pass on to positive things as well. It's not just about when you see order and when you see something good happening, you realize, and I like the way that you put it, to say it could even be not only our subordinates, but even our superiors who see the compassionate way that you lead and then choose to say, wait a minute, that gives me an excuse or at least a reason to be able to do the same towards others. Now, one of the reasons how come I bring this up this way in the broken window theory is that the other way turns out, like we had been saying mostly throughout this week, compassion and kindness is contagious. Now, let me put it in this way, when you look at the idea of Jesus and the way that he led, or maybe not even Jesus, let's go to, because Jesus was called the son of David. Let's go back to David. Now, David, when he was leading, and the way that he led was he would take care of his people. There's a part there's a part in the Bible where David is running away from Saul and he's being chased down by Saul. But while he's being chased, he realizes that, no, I need to feed my people. I need to feed my soldiers. And these are soldiers who decided to stay loyal to him because of how he led. But then when he did just look at his soldiers as just being tools in his army, he said, no, I need to feed them. And when he looked out to go and feed them, and he did so much to go and try and make sure that they're fed, they themselves would say, you know what, no matter what happens, I'll make sure to stay by this guy. Because remember, even while they were out in the wilderness, they were being chased down. They could have easily gone back home. They weren't forced into being soldiers of David. But they said, no, you know what? I'm going to stick with this man. And this inspired them. If you go into the book of 2 Samuel, there's actually sometimes we skip those parts of the Bible, but there's a list of David's mighty men. And you realize that David, because of his compassion, created more mighty men, more leaders, people who were able to do conquering. Not just, David slayed Goliath, but when you look at the exploits of his soldiers, you realize that they themselves, by being around David, became more mighty men than those who were around Saul. Actually, you found out that those who were around Saul ended up going to David and saying, you know what, we want to be part of your army. Even though you're running in the wilderness, we would rather be with you than in palaces with a mad king. So that's the idea that comes out, that yes, compassionate leaders create more compassionate leaders, create mighty men, if I may put it that way. And you see that even from the disciples. Even when Jesus told them to go out into the world, 12 people, and all of them took on the work with so much passion, they were willing to lay their lives down. And if we take on that same attitude in our compassionate leadership, you'll find that your own superiors, your own subordinates will say, you know what, we will stick with you whichever direction you go.
Yeah, I like that. Quite an amazing application of that. And I see you touching on that broken window theory as well.
I did my assignment. You gave me homework. I said I'm going to do it.
Thank you, Mtana. Thank you, Mtana.
Thank you so much.
Appreciating your time this morning, and may God bless you and do it again in the next session.
I appreciate you so much. You have a good day. God bless. Thank you.
And that's Brother Dumisani Moyo taking us through kindness and compassion as our take on making things practical. What's the power behind these two things? And today we were focusing on compassionate leadership. What's your take on that? Are you a compassionate leader? Have you seen compassionate leaders? Have you preferred their leadership style over others? We want to hear from you.
Be part of the conversation. Send us a WhatsApp message on +27 73 470 3520 or call us at +27 12 001 7679. Let your voice be heard. Adventist World Radio, powered by SID Media. From broadcast to baptism.